The girl praised the dog. "You are so cute." But the next second, the dog peed her face directly and mercilessly. The girl cried out. The clerk quickly apologized. This is the 99th time the dog peed on her face. The clerk was helpless. He advised her that no one would adopt a dog that pees, but the dog could not change this problem. He watched as his siblings were adopted one by one. Soon he became a lonely dog, and then the dog grew up, but still no one would adopt him. The owner thought it was a waste of dog food. He was going to be put in a shelter. The dog did not want to lose his freedom. Determined to leap, after jumping on the owner, fled the pet store. Soon after it was dark. The dog was tired and hungry. The world is so big, he didn't know where he should go. He had to hide in an alley, in a cardboard box for a while to escape the cold. But the dog was too hungry. He couldn't sleep. He looks up at the stars with melancholy. He longed to find a warm home, but on second thought, he is always disliked. It's really harder than ever to find a home. Just as the dog was losing his mind, a guy went out to take out the garbage. He took pity on him and left him a big sausage. This made the dog very happy. He rushed forward to eat it, but then a pit bull suddenly appeared, threatened to leave the sausage. "Spare your life." The dog was immediately scared and jumped up in the air. He dodged the vicious dog, quickly got into the doorway, but the dog was in hot pursuit. The dog accidentally rushed into the ring. At that moment, a big man on the stage was in a frenzy. He shouted that there was no one who could fight. He saw that there was a dog on the stage, so he immediately picked up the dog and said, "Little guy, do you want to challenge me?" The dog panicked, peed on the spot. This 9-foot muscle man is shameless. He picked up a small dog to bully it. The 80-year-old man couldn't stand it. He shouted angrily with his strong old meat, "If you have the guts to come at me." But this yelled the grandfather, but the dog was scared to pee on the spot, peed directly on his face. A face of yellow soup smoked. He could not open his eyes. Angry man quickly rushed to the side rope. The use of force to make a fierce man pounced on the dog. The result of positioning accidentally stepped on a banana peel, fell on all fours. The dog took the opportunity to leap up, down when the front paws firmly clasped the fierce man's neck. The fierce man's face was suddenly red, breathing difficulty. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not break the white dog choke. In 3 seconds, he fell to the stage. The referee quickly stepped forward and counted 3, 2, 1. The dog wins. The audience immediately stood up and cheered. But the dog did not have time to enjoy the victory. Suddenly he felt a blackout and passed out. When he woke up again, he found himself rescued by the family who owns the wrestling gym. The mother said he must be a stray dog. He probably fainted because he was too hungry. Everyone saw the poor dog. They decided to adopt him and took him out to eat. But just outside was a group of reporters surrounded. It turns out that a small video of the dog fighting a fierce man in the ring was stolen and posted on the internet. Instantly hit the hot list. Now, the nation's netizens want to see the dog and man fight. When the father heard this, he immediately made a small plan. If the dog is popular, the family wrestling gym will not close down. So he took it upon himself. "Dogs versus mummies," he announced to reporters. "We'll see you this weekend." But even the father himself didn't believe this. After all, how could a dog wrestle with a human? Just when he was at his wit's end, someone outside the house suddenly shouted, "I can teach it to wrestle." So the family curiously followed the voice to the wrestling gym. The father looked up and saw. He found a monkey standing calmly in front of a loudspeaker. It was the wrestling gym's 3 world leaders. The wrestling world sweeper monkey Wukong. Now my father was finally relieved. He reached an agreement with Wukong. "We plan to revitalize the wrestling gym together." Time was short. They immediately went into training. In the morning, they dried 3 raw eggs to ensure the dog's physical strength. Then they go for a lap, strengthen the dog's body. Finally, before the meal, you have to lift dumbbells 300 times. After the meal, you have to learn a lot of theoretical knowledge to improve the dog's tactical literacy. In order to ensure that he is not scared to pee, he also spends 2 hours a day in meditation. To see the dog can swallow raw eggs and can lift dumbbells, Goku is very satisfied. So he decided to teach him his unique skill, Mad Dog Pounce. To teach him, with the dog's persistent efforts, he finally became a wrestling dog. Since it is a fierce dog, he had to have a fierce uniform. This wasp wing is not fierce enough. This set of oriental fierce is not masculine enough. It seems a bit weak. If the uniform is not right, the fighting power will be reduced by half. The boy had a bright idea. He made a tailor-made combat suit for him. Everything is ready. The dog finally made his debut. His opponent is this mummy wrapped in toilet paper. He's got a lot of fight in him. He just threw 2 big men off the stage. But the dog doesn't panic. He's already got a plan. He grabbed the mummy's toilet paper in his mouth. He turns around and runs. He just kept running. The mummy was dragged around and around by the toilet paper. The toilet paper on its body soon ran out. As the mummy fainted and fell to the ground, the dog also became famous. He became a superstar of the professional wrestling league. He has won many battles, just when the dog's wrestling career was booming. But the next match has a big conspiracy. They are approaching them step by step. This dog set up a life and death contract, and he wants to fight with this muscular man. He could not touch his knees even if he jumped up, but there was confidence in his eyes. The referee gives the word. The fight begins. The dog quickly bit the laces of Mike's shoes, circling around him like crazy. Soon Mike's feet were tied up. Mike's weight is unstable and he falls on the spot. The dog jumped up on the pole to celebrate, but Mike quietly from the sleeve pulled out a strip, stuck it in his mouth and blew it up. The dog suddenly collapsed to the ground with no energy. Mike found that the dog whistle worked quite well, so he blew more vigorously. The dog could not resist lying on the ground and did not move. Mike rushed reached forward and pinned the dog under his body. The final cold victory. After the game, the boss praised Mike not only has good limbs, IQ is not bad either. Mike proudly said the dog whistled in his hand, he will lose. But this conversation between them, but the father heard clearly by the side. He angrily came forward and demanded a rematch. Give the dog back his honor. But a rematch is a rematch when you say so. The owner didn't agree. For the sake of the dog, the father could only use the wrestling gym as a bargaining chip to bet with the boss. The boss immediately agreed to a rematch. Soon after, the match began again. This time Mike was going to make the first move. He went straight to the side rope and used his skills, but the dog easily dodged it. Mike was attacking, but this time, the dog intercepts him. He kicked him to the ground. The audience was instantly ignited. But just then, Mike pulls out his whistle again and blows it quickly. The dog is disturbed and falls down helplessly. His eyes are full of anger, but there was nothing he could do. Watching Mike climb up the pole, suddenly Mike leapt backwards. The dog is hit hard by a mid-air spin. The dog quickly dodged. Tai Dan missed, directly knocked himself out. The dog jumped on top of Tai Dan excitedly. Enjoy the joy of victory. At this moment, the boss got angry and questioned Mike, who didn't understand. Why didn't it work? It turns out that the dog had been prepared, plugged up with earplugs. The owner was very angry and kept scolding Mike. Mike could not stand it. Angry, he picked up the boss and threw him out of the ring. Himself, also with the help of his companions, left the ring. At that moment, in the center of the ring, the dog family received the gold belt, amidst the cheers of the crowd, enjoying the joy of victory.